Today, we are starting a story of Su Chen, who is an average looser delivery guy. He lived as his girlfriend's slave for past 5 years in a world which is extremely hot, and surviving day by day is extremely difficult. The asphalt gets so hot you could burn yourself if you stepped on it, and you can't be outside for longer than 20 seconds without losing consciousness. Since everyone can't leave their homes, supplies have become the most valuable thing. Our main character was running low on supplies, so his gold digger girlfriend slept with someone else and killed him to take everything he had. They even had in front of his almost lifeless body. But to his luck, he came back in time 1 month prior to when the apocalypse was about to happen. So let's see how our Giga boy gets his revenge and makes a harem in this desolated world. Please like and subscribe so I can make better videos in the future. Your support is appreciated. Let's begin the story now. The story begins with the sky filled with lightning and a helicopter flying near an erupting volcano. In present, chaos reigns on Zhongshan Road as a bus and other vehicles hurtle forward at breakneck speed. Within the bus, a multitude of passengers are engaged in what seems to be a mass evacuation, each gripping their possessions as if they were precious gold. Amidst the frenzy, a man vents his frustration, recounting the recent underwater earthquake and the eruption of Mount Fuji, which claimed the lives of tens of thousands, and now their own locality is under evacuation orders. Suddenly, the woman seated beside him expresses her concern, mentioning their hasty departure has left her devoid of essentials. She resolves to buy supplies upon reaching Jiangnan City. The man beside her queries if he missed the news, pointing out that the goods in both Walmart and alley warehouses in Jiangnan City have been cleared out. Another passenger interjects, remarking that it's old news, citing the recent phenomenon of Daming Lake drying up in Shenqing and the subsequent emptying of the Da Rundong warehouse. This revelation surprises the woman, who calculates the staggering value of the depleted supplies, likely amounting to hundreds of billions. Suddenly, another voice from behind interjects, correcting the woman that the value of the supplies should be in the tens of trillions. Another passenger joins the conversation, stating that the depletion of supplies and the series of natural disasters are merely superficial. They should broaden their perspective to see that the apocalypse is imminent. Startled, the woman turns to the man beside her, inquiring if it's truly the end of the world. He responds, asking the other passenger if he's joking, because if it genuinely is the end, he admits to looking forward to it, as it would mark the moment of equality among all living beings. Upon hearing the declaration that all living beings were equal, Su Chen contemplated the notion. Even as their world faced its end, he realized there was no true equality among all creatures. Memories flooded back of the disaster he had personally endured. A monstrous creature, emerging from the depths, its maw filled with human bodies, flashed before his mind's eye. Su Chen recollected that in his previous life he was just a humble delivery man, and the horror was etched on his face as he witnessed the grotesque scene unfold. The apocalypse had descended, triggered by the abnormal release of solar activity, resulting in soaring atmospheric temperatures, frequent seismic shifts, and the emergence of monsters that were previously hidden underground. The whole world changed. A new world emerged with a new order, a realm of scarcity where survival meant relentless struggle. In this dystopian reality, people fought tooth and nail for even the most basic necessities, like a pack of instant noodles, and girls were willing to be bitches just to lick a humble ham sausage. Su Chen, now a self-proclaimed phoenix risen from the ashes of an apocalyptic world, reminisces about the time when everyone had to let go of everything. He was reborn from that kind of apocalypse to 1 month before the world turned topsy-turvy. But his reverie is interrupted as someone grabs his arm. It's the same lady from before, her flirtation game strong, trying to snag his attention with a mix of charm and concern. She whispers that what others said earlier has scared her a little bit, her eyes wide with a cocktail of fear and fascination. Yet she's taken aback when the Giga boy, with a polite wave, apologizes to her, telling her that he has more important things to do, and slips away from her grasp. He steps off the bus, leaving a trail of curiosity and unanswered questions, as the doors snap shut. Su Chen raises his gaze skyward, pondering what is the most important thing in an apocalypse. Standing before the Mr. Hippo warehouse, Su Chen remarks to himself that, naturally, the most crucial thing is supplies. As he grabs his uniform, he reflects that in his past life he wasted his time searching for supplies and resolves to be better prepared this time. Upon reaching the entrance, Su Chen is swiftly reminded by the manager that tardiness by even 21 seconds would result in a hefty deduction from his salary. Su Chen quickly apologizes and steps into the warehouse. Su Chen reminisces about his past apocalypse experience, where the boss skipped town early, leaving his hard-earned annual salary to dust. So he figures these supplies are his rightful compensation. Just as he's about to make his move, the ground glitches beneath his feet. With a mischievous grin, he suggests they let him take the goods. Extending his arm dramatically, he unleashes a wave of energy, commanding the space to cooperate. As if by magic, the massive racks of supplies begin to vanish, replaced by a reassuring system screen listing rice, cooking oil, and meat, all automatically stored. The racks seem to teleport to a new location, perfectly aligned. The system cheerfully notifies him of more incoming supplies being automatically stored. Like obedient soldiers, additional racks materialize, aligning themselves perfectly with the others. It's as if the apocalypse itself is bending over backward to cater to Su-Chen's needs. As the racks of supplies finish reappearing, our Giga Chad boy stands triumphantly atop one of them, surveying the vast array in front of him. With a proud grin, he declares that it's all thanks to his spatial ability. With a mere thought, he can unfold this special power, cramming everything around him into a super-large cubic space, each side stretching 10,000 meters, all at his command. He even points out the fish swimming in the water stored above him, a testament to the versatility of his ability. With a casual shrug, he explains how this power makes purchasing supplies a breeze, costing him nothing. With a wave of his hand, he's drained 2 freshwater lakes and looted several cities doomed in the impending apocalypse. Su-Chen reflects on the luxury of even a simple packet of instant noodles in the midst of the apocalypse, where fresh food is a rare commodity. With a sense of awe, he notes that time seems frozen in this space, ensuring that the food remains fresh indefinitely. Tears well up in his eyes as he realizes he won't have to resort to eating dirt like in his previous life. Bringing his hands together in gratitude, he gazes at the inventory displayed by the system, showcasing the multitude of supplies he's gathered. With a sigh of relief, Su-Chen acknowledges that after amassing such a bounty, he can finally breathe easy in this harsh new world. Suddenly, the warehouse doors swing open, revealing the manager and 2 bewildered delivery guys. They're in the midst of a conversation, discussing the need for assistance in moving the goods out. The manager's face contorts with fury as they realize the entire warehouse is already stripped bare. With a mix of surprise and frustration, the delivery guys let out a string of curses at the sight. The manager, seething with anger, demands answers from Su-Chen. With a nonchalant shrug, our Giga Chad boy casually admits that he took everything. Surprised and angered, the manager lashes out at Su-Chen, hurling colorful insults his way. Demanding an explanation, he orders the other delivery guys to apprehend him, which they eagerly obey. But just as they move to grab Su-Chen, a glitch in space materializes out of nowhere. With a sly grin, Su-Chen declares he won't be sticking around to face their wrath any longer. As one of the delivery guys lunges for him, he effortlessly slips into the glitch, bidding them a cheeky goodbye. Confused, the delivery guys look around, searching for Su-Chen. The manager, dumbfounded, stammers out that Su-Chen has somehow vanished into the great outdoors. Another glitch in space materializes, and our Giga Chad boy emerges headfirst, executing a mid-air maneuver to land safely on his feet. With a grin, he reveals his second ability, Space Jump, allowing him to shuttle within a 3-meter space. He explains how this skill comes in handy in the apocalypse, enabling him to scavenge abandoned buildings for supplies and make quick escapes from mutant beasts. Spotting his discarded uniform, Su-Chen tosses it into the air triumphantly, declaring his zero-cost shopping mission a success. While the manager is busy scolding the 2 delivery guys, Su-Chen's phone suddenly vibrates in his pocket. Su-Chen glances at the warning message, informing them of the Earth's recent seismic activity and the possibility of localized natural disasters. However, it reassures that these incidents are manageable and shouldn't disrupt daily life too much. Su-Chen adds that the official statement is meant to prevent excessive panic. With a raised eyebrow, he asks if they're aware that the end might be approaching. Su-Chen's attention is diverted by his phone once more, and his expression darkens as he sees Zhang Xiaoxin's name flashing on the screen. Taking a deep breath to steady himself, he answers the call. As soon as he picks up the call, the gold digger girl launches into accusations, accusing Su-Chen of playing disappearing acts and even putting their house up for sale with a real estate agent. With a mixture of frustration and disbelief, she questions his naivety, wondering aloud if he truly believes he can find a woman willing to be with him after selling their home. Looks like Su-Chen's got some explaining to do, and it's not going to be easy. That bitch, who was with another man, continues to grill Su-Chen about his responsibilities as a man. She bluntly states that while she doesn't care about his house, as a woman she needs the security of knowing he's willing to provide for her. Su-Chen, unfazed, calmly asks if there's anything else that's bothering her. The gold digger doesn't mince words, offering Su-Chen an ultimatum. Either he returns immediately and transfers ownership of the house to her, or he can forget about marrying her. Our Giga Chad boy calmly informs that gold digger that he's on his way back to Shangdu, and they'll discuss everything when he arrives. With a decisive click, he ends the call. His expression turns vengeful as he reflects on his past life with Jiang Xiao. He recounts how they spent 5 grueling years in the apocalypse, with him tirelessly searching for supplies to keep her fed. He even risked his life to bring her into a safe zone. Without him, he knows bitterly she would have starved to death in the apocalypse. Regret fills Su Chen's eyes as he remembers Jiang Xiu's betrayal. He recalls a man attacking him from behind, questioning why he's been returning empty-handed lately and insinuating that Su Chen may be hiding the good stuff. Su Chen collapses to the ground, lifeless. The man reports back to Jiang Xiu, informing her that Su Chen is now useless. With a cold indifference, she dismisses Su Chen's fate as the result of his own incompetence. She hints to the man that whether he's deemed incompetent or not will depend on his performance that night, leaving Su Chen's body lying coldly on the floor. Su Chen's face twists with a mix of anger and betrayal as he reflects on his past life, realizing he had placed his trust in the wrong hands. With a clenched fist, he vows vengeance against Jiang Xiu and Wang Haoyu, the man who ultimately ended his life. His eyes burn with a vengeful fire as he swears they won't meet an easy end. He wants them to suffer 100 or 1,000 times over for the pain they caused him. Su Chen trembles, his fist clenched tightly in anger. With visible effort, he manages to relax his grip, releasing a deep breath to steady himself. Coming to his senses, he expresses that the remaining necessities can only be acquired with money, but the question remains how to obtain it. Su Chen dials up manager Liu, promptly answers the call. With a polite greeting, Su Chen gets straight to business, offering to sell his house at half price. However, he makes it clear to manager Liu that he expects cash and he wants it pronto. Later, Jiang Xiu and Wang Haoyu stand before the Dream real estate building when a cab pulls up in front of them. Su Chen steps out of the cab, and the bitch wastes no time expressing her frustration, demanding to know how long she's been waiting. However, to her surprise, our Giga Chad boy simply ignores her, striding past without a word and instructing them to move aside. Wang Haoyu confronts Su Chen, his anger evident as he brandishes his bat. He demands to know who gave Su Chen permission to sell a house, reprimanding him for his audacity. With a menacing tone, Wang Haoyu threatens Su Chen, vowing to ensure he doesn't see the light of day tomorrow. In a blink and you'll miss it moment, our Giga Chad boy's hand shoots out at lightning speed, grabbing Wang Haoyu by the neck before he can even react. With a swift motion, Su Chen slams Wang Haoyu to the ground, asserting his dominance and declaring he can handle things however he pleases. Seeing this badass version of Su Chen, the gold digger Jiang Xiu gets confused and furious and demands Su Chen release her companion, but her pleas fall on deaf ears. She calls out for help, labeling Su Chen a murderer, but before anyone can intervene, Su Chen swings his arm, delivering a sharp blow across her face. The gold digger collapses to the ground, utterly bewildered by Su Chen's sudden actions. As Wang Haoyu's face pales and he struggles to plead with Su Chen to let go, Su Chen's grin widens into a menacing smirk. He reassures Wang Haoyu not to worry, promising that his demise won't come too swiftly. With a final flourish, Su Chen releases his grip, allowing Wang Haoyu to hastily retreat, coughing and catching his breath. Meanwhile, our Giga Chad boy confidently strides into the Dream real estate building, leaving Jiang Xiu to rush towards the trembling Wang Haoyu, checking on his well-being. The bitch wastes no time in issuing her demand, insisting that Su Chen kneel and apologize immediately if he still harbors any hope of marrying her. However, to their astonishment, Su Chen responds with nothing but a menacing glare. The gold digger quickly takes the hint, turning on her heels and making a dash for it. Su Chen watches with amusement as Wang Haoyu follows suit, chasing after her and pleading for her to wait. With a dismissive snort, Su Chen labels them both as worthless. Moments later, a man approaches Su Chen and politely offers him a drink. Introducing himself as manager Liu, he expresses his interest in buying Su Chen's house and seeks his opinion on the matter. However, behind his polite demeanor, manager Liu is secretly calculating the potential profit, believing the house to be worth much more than Su Chen's asking price of $700,000. Su Chen, aware of the property's true value, agrees with manager Liu's assessment. However, he insists on a full payment and inquires if it can be made that very day. Manager Liu eagerly agrees and suggests they sign the contract and arrange for the transfer of ownership, with the paperwork to be completed by the following Monday. Our Giga Chad boy muses that it's not all bad considering the current state of affairs. In the back of his mind, he toys with the idea that now is the time when one could pick any house they fancy provided they have the courage to inhabit it. Glancing at his phone, the notification pops up, 700,000 yuan, presumably a currency, has just been deposited into his bank account. As he steps out of the Dream real estate building, Su Chen can't help but feel a sense of security. Despite the chaos unfolding in distant lands, Shangri remains a haven, nestled safely inland within the Central Plains. Earthquakes, tsunamis, and volcanic eruptions are mere stories from afar. Coupled with official statements quelling fears and other reassuring factors, Su Chen is convinced that life in Shangdu marches on with remarkable orderliness. Suddenly, Su Chen's attention is captured by a flyer advertising high-interest loans prominently displayed on an electric post. Intrigued, he wastes no time and immediately calls the loan company to inquire about mortgaging his property with a property certificate. Later, Su Chen arrives at the Hanhai International Building, where the Great Sea Loans Limited Company is located. Upon entering, someone compliments Su Chen's appearance but also subtly suggests that his house may not be worth much. Su Chen's eyes widen with recognition as he realizes he's speaking to Wang Hoyu's older brother, Wang Dehai, who met a tragic end in his last life, devoured by mutant beasts. Su Chen wastes no time in getting down to business, asking how much he can borrow from Great Sea Loans Limited. Dehai informs him that he can borrow up to 500,000, but he'll need to leave the property certificate as collateral. Su Chen, feeling confident, pushes for an additional 100,000, insisting that he needs the money immediately. However, he assures Dehai not to worry, promising that he'll turn a profit within a week and promptly repay him. Dehai's smirk reveals his skepticism towards Su Chen's intentions, viewing him as a reckless gambler, willing to do anything for profit. He silently questions Su Chen's ability to turn things around so quickly and considers him foolish for even attempting such a feat. However, he remains pragmatic, indicating that as long as Su Chen can mortgage the property certificate with their company, they can negotiate further terms. Moments later, Su Chen checks his phone. A notification from his bank reveals that 600,000 yu has been transferred to his current bank account. Meanwhile, Zhang Xiao and Wang Hoyu step out of a cab. Zhang Xiao questions why they can't simply reclaim their own house, expressing her frustration that Su Chen dared to lay hands on her and must now face the consequences. Wang Hoyu curses, vowing to make Su Chen pay and even suggesting that Dehai should be the one to kill him. Suddenly, the bitch spots Su Chen walking ahead of them and urges Wang Hoyu to confirm if it's really him. Wang Hoyu nods in confirmation and Zhang Xiao suggests they follow him to see what he's been up to. Meanwhile, Su Chen heads to the Green City Hotel. He recalls that many commercial buildings collapsed due to seawater backflow and rapid freezing during various natural disasters, but the Green City Hotel remains standing until the end. As Su Chen nears the entrance of the Green City Hotel, he ponders the rumors he's heard about the well-equipped presidential suite inside. With the promise of amenities like a swimming pool, he considers the idea of using the hotel as a base. After all, living there for an extended period wouldn't be too shabby. Su Chen surveys the interior of the hotel, contemplating how, despite many warehouses being empty, there seems to be no shortage of hot meals and ingredients stocked here. As he ponders his options, a lady staff member notices him. The lady introduces herself to Su Chen as Liu Xinru, the hotel restaurant manager, and inquires how she can assist him. Her astonishment is palpable when Su Chen casually mentions that he wants to order tables for a banquet. She quickly assures him that they can accommodate his request. With a hint of admiration, Liu Xinru lists the available options ranging from 5,000 to 100,000 per table. In her mind, she can't help but wonder about Su Chen's grand demeanor, speculating that he might be a hidden second-generation rich individual. Su Chen decides on 10,000 per table, totaling 10 million for the banquet. He confidently offers to pay a 50,000 deposit, ensuring delivery to the address he provides, with the balance to be settled within a week. As he finalizes the arrangements, Su Chen can't help but wonder if the Green City Hotel lives up to such high standards. Liu Xinru accepts the 50,000 deposit and guides Su Chen to where he can make the payment. She quietly calculates that just the cost of ingredients for the banquet would likely exceed that amount, but connecting with wealthy individuals like Su Chen is worth it. After all, in business, smoothness is key. Politely, Liu Xinru asks Su Chen how she should address him. Su Chen offers his name, and she politely addresses him as Mr. Su. When she inquires if he's getting married, Su Chen confirms, requesting her assistance in booking a presidential suite. Moments later, leaving the hotel building, Su Chen wears a broad grin, basking in the satisfaction of settling a 10 million bill with just a 50,000 deposit. He chuckles to himself, amused by the irony that in a scorching post-apocalyptic world, a simple block of ice could be worth billions. Liu Xinru beams with joy as she comments on Su Chen's booking of the presidential suite for his honeymoon, expressing her belief that whoever marries him is truly fortunate. Unbeknownst to her, Zhang Xiao and Wang Hoyu lurk behind her, eavesdropping on the conversation. They then approach Lin Xinru. The gold digger politely inquires about Su Chen's earlier activities at the hotel, but instead of answering, Liu Xinru politely asks for her identity. Without hesitation, Zhang Xiao provides Su Chen's name and introduces him as her boyfriend. Liu Xinru's eyes widen in surprise as she learns Zhang Xiao's connection to Su Chen. She remarks that Zhang Xiao was truly fortunate to have a boyfriend like Su Chen, revealing that he just ordered a banquet of 1,000 tables from them and paid a 50,000 deposit. While outwardly maintaining her composure, inwardly, Liu Xinru sizes up Jiang Xiao, considering her to be a 7 at best, yet possessing a temperament that even surpasses her own. She wonders why wealthy individuals always seem drawn to those types. Jiang Xiao and Wang Houyu exchange surprised glances, with the bitch expressing disbelief that Su Chen could afford to order a 10 million banquet. She turns to Liu Xinru for confirmation, seeking clarity on Su Chen's financial capacity. Liu Xinru nods knowingly, suggesting that wealthy individuals often enjoy the game of hiding their true identity, fearing that their partners might be after their money. Therefore, they reveal their wealth only on the day of the wedding. Jiang Xiao raises an eyebrow at this revelation, questioning whether these individuals might also resort to sudden disappearances and cold violence before tying the knot. Meanwhile, Wang Houyu bluntly asks if Su Chen, the apparent bootlicker, is truly as wealthy as implied. Liu Xinru reassures Wang Houyu and Jiang Xiao that Su Chen is indeed wealthy. Both are astonished when Liu Xinru shows them her phone, revealing that Su Chen had just transferred the 50,000 deposit. Later, seated on a bench outside the hotel, Wang Houyu points out the extravagance of 1,000-table banquet at a 5-star hotel. He turns to Jiang Xiao and asks who Su Chen has invited. In response, Jiang Xiao questions Wang Houyu, asking if he doesn't understand Su Chen's intentions. She explains that Su Chen wants to introduce her to their wealthy circle and reveal her identity. Wang Houyu's eyes practically sparkle with desire as he's about to grope Jiang Xiao's chest while asking her what their next move should be. However, Jiang Xiao swiftly slaps his hand away, asserting that she needs to take the initiative and create opportunities for Su Chen, the bootlicker. In a moment of reflection, the bitch imagines herself as a wealthy lady, her eyes twinkling with excitement as she realizes the unexpected turn her life has taken. She admits to herself that she never imagined such a scenario, especially not with someone like Su Chen. Glancing at his phone, Su Chen reveals that he sold the house for 7, taking out a high-interest loan of 600,000 and spending 500,000 on the banquet. However, he reflects that during the zero-cost purchase, which was essentially stealing, many essential items were missed. Thus, even with just the deposit paid, the remaining 800,000 isn't much. Su Chen chuckles sinisterly, commenting that at this point, if he didn't take out an online loan, it would be a waste. Next, Su Chen downloads more than 80 apps at once and indulges in a selfie spree, snapping 30 pictures in quick succession, and took the online loans with amounts ranging from 30,000 to 30 yuan. With a sigh of relief, Su Chen sets down his phone, which promptly notifies him of his bank balance, while hopping 977,000 yuan. A pleased grin spreads across his face as he reclines on his bed, finally admitting that he's managed to secure 970,000 yuan in loans. However, Su Chen suddenly sits back up, insisting that there's no time to waste as there are still many things to buy. Swiping on his phone, Su Chen remarks that items like fireplaces, ice makers, ice blocks, and smokeless coal aren't available in supermarkets. Fortunately, he can purchase them online with fast delivery. Su Chen emphasizes that after experiencing extreme heat and severe cold, whether he can endure it or not depends on having enough of these items. He quickly makes a call to inquire about the current rate of smokeless coal. Upon learning that it's 255,001 yuan per ton, Su Chen declares that he needs 2,000 tons of smokeless coal. Satisfied with the price, he agrees to it and promises to pay a deposit of 500,000 yuan first. The remaining amount will be settled after receiving the goods. Su Chen then makes a call to the ice factory, expressing his interest in ordering ice blocks. After a brief discussion with the person on the other end of the line, he agrees to their terms and confirms that he will come for a face-to-face discussion. A few moments later, as Su Chen emerges from his apartment, he's recognized by a familiar face, Lai Na. Reciprocating the recognition, Su Chen identifies her. Alongside Lai Na is Jiang Xiao, and upon seeing Su Chen, she remarks on the time that has passed since their last encounter. Lai Na chimes in, mentioning that Jiang Xiao has been missing Su Chen lately. However, Su Chen playfully rebukes the notion, criticizing Lai Na for speaking ill of his close friend behind her back. He points out that it was Lina who allowed Jiang Xiao to occupy his house. Su Chen, in his characteristically frank manner, directly asks Lai Na why she's missing him, teasingly questioning if it's because of his house. Lai Na appears upset by his comment, explaining that Jiang Xiao was simply testing him before. She expresses her disappointment, questioning why Su Chen seems clueless about Jiang Xiao's feelings and how sad she has been. The gold digger intervenes, asking Su Chen if he could accompany her for a walk. She admits that she's not feeling well and apologizes for scolding him yesterday, requesting that he not be mad at her. However, Su Chen abruptly walks away, asserting that he has other commitments for the day and suggesting that she go ahead and stroll by herself. Jiang Xiao questions the situation, expressing her confusion and noting Su Chen's arrogant behavior. Lina suddenly interrupts, urging Jiang Xiao to pay attention as Su Chen gets into a taxi. Recognizing the significance of the moment, Lina urges Jiang Xiao to hurry up and follow Su Chen, suggesting that this could be a final test for Jiang Xiao. A few moments later, Su Chen arrives at the Manhwa ice factory, where he's greeted by a man named Mr. Wu. Mr. Wu extends his hand for a shake, expressing his surprise at Su Chen's youthful appearance. Su Chen acknowledges their prior phone discussions and proceeds to inquire about the production timeline for 2,000 tons of edible ice. Mr. Wu proudly explains that while they may not boast about much else, their factory excels in efficiency. He confidently assures Su Chen that the production of 2,000 tons of edible ice will be completed in just 3 days. Furthermore, he quotes a price of 400 yuan per ton, resulting in a total cost of 800,000 yuan. Su Chen readily agrees and announces his intention to transfer 100,000 yuan as a deposit. He instructs Mr. Wu to deliver the ice to the address he provided within 3 days. Mr. Wu confirms the arrangement, assuring Su Chen that it will be done without any issues. As Mr. Wu's phone notifies him of the received payment, his eyes light up with satisfaction. With a chuckle, he curiously asks Su Chen about the need for such a large quantity of ice, speculating if there's a large-scale event. He then suggests the possibility of future cooperation, emphasizing the negotiability of prices. Su Chen's response catches Mr. Wu by surprise as he mentions his plan to donate the ice to Alashan for charity. Puzzled by Su Chen's altruistic gesture, Mr. Wu watches as Su Chen departs in the taxi. Reflecting on the substantial deal that was just sealed at the entrance, Mr. Wu marvels at Su Chen's capabilities. Suddenly, another taxi pulls up, and Mr. Wu wonders if another unexpected visitor has arrived for business without an appointment. To his surprise is Jiang Xiao and Lina. The bitch boldly declares Su Chen as her fiancé, taking Mr. Wu by surprise. She questions Mr. Wu about his earlier conversation with Su Chen. Puzzled by Jiang Xiao's sudden declaration, Mr. Wu wonders if this is some sort of detective play. Nevertheless, he acknowledges that Su Chen did indeed place an order worth 800,000 for ice. Both Lina and Jiang Xiao are taken aback by the revelation, expressing their disbelief at the staggering amount spent on ice. Lina and Jiang Xiao assert confidently that Su Chen must indeed be a super-rich second generation. Lina then questions Mr. Wu about Su Chen's plans for the large quantity of ice. Mr. Wu reaffirms that Su Chen mentioned donating it to Alashan for charity. Both Lina and Jiang Xiao are bewildered by Mr. Wu's revelation. Meanwhile, at a restaurant, Su Chen reflects that all the necessary items had been purchased, so it was time to enjoy themselves before the apocalypse. As a waiter greeted and welcomed them, Su Chen couldn't help but reflect on his past life, realizing that he had been too busy working to indulge in such luxuries. Even visiting a small cafe had seemed like a luxury back then. Glancing at the menu, Su Chen observed that the restaurant was truly upscale, with average spending in the 4 digits. Suddenly, Su Chen noticed a peculiar item on the menu, a question mark priced at 177,000. Perplexed, he inquired if they were actually selling a question mark. The waiter clarified that it was a special creation crafted by the head chef of their Yala music restaurant with the details tailored to the chef's inspiration. Intrigued by the uniqueness of the offering, Su Chen found it interesting and decided to give it a try. The waiter agreed, and Su Chen eagerly made his choice. As he awaits his order, Su Chen reaches for the book Shanhai Jing, a Chinese classic. Reflecting on his past life, he remembers the strange force that causes many creatures to mutate at the beginning of the apocalypse. Su Chen asserts that the monstrous serpent mentioned in the Shanhai Jing, appearing in the midst of floods, resembles the mutated serpent he encountered in his previous life. However, he prefers to call it atavism rather than mutation. Meanwhile, a lady approaches Su Chen carrying a dish. She greets him and declares herself as the head chef of Yala Music Restaurant. She tells him that this dish is specially tailored for him based on his temperament. Su Chen is astonished when he recognizes the lady, as she is none other than Hell's chef Duan Ya. Recalling from his past life's apocalypse, Su Chen remembers that Hell's chef possessed a magical culinary skill to turn decay into food. No one could resist such temptation. However, those dishes were made using the mutation source from within the monstrous beasts, so eating them would lead to certain death. Seeing Su Chen's expression, Duan Ya wonders what's bothering him, teasing if he's afraid such a beauty would poison the food. She then explains the dish called dual-faced life, where one side is tuna fried in brown butter and the other is deep-fried in puff pastry, creating a kind of steak with 2 different flavors. Su Chen samples the dish and admits that the taste is really good. He concludes that the 177,000 yuan is indeed worth it. While savoring the delicious meal, Su Chen couldn't help but entertain the thought of having Duanya cook for him during the apocalypse. However, he quickly dismissed the idea, reminding himself that trusting Duanya's cooking might be risky since no one knows if she would poison the food. Meanwhile, Lina and Jiang Xiao are peeking from outside the restaurant. Lina remarks that she heard each dish in that restaurant costs over 10,000 yuan, implying that Jiang Xiao's husband must be a second-generation rich kid. Lina adds that once Jiang Xiao becomes a rich wife, she shouldn't forget her sisters, citing how Lina was almost bitten to death by mosquitoes. Jiang Xiao agrees, affirming that she will definitely become a rich wife. A few moments later, Su Chen enters a bar and comments that it resembles the golden sales vault of Shanggu. He observes that some rich kid had spent 2 million there without even getting to see what Abalone looked like. Su Chen settles onto a couch having a drink and muses that in the apocalypse, there wouldn't be such places of extravagance. He regrets not entering such a place in his last life. Suddenly, a few ladies approach Su Chen, calling him handsome and questioning why he isn't drinking. As Su Chen raises a toast with them, one of the ladies offers him to drink with the shy-looking girl. Su Chen joins in drinking with the group, glancing at the girl sitting beside him. Her name is Yunyan, and she looks embarrassed as her friend reveals that she's there for the first time because her boyfriend cheated on her, and they brought her out to have some fun. Yunyan confesses that the scumbag didn't sleep with her but cheated with an older woman, indicating he really lacks taste. She asks Su Chen if men are truly concerned about sleeping with women. Su Chen asserts that a real man's nature is engraved in his bones with reproductive desires. Suddenly, Yunyan chugs her drink, surprising Su Chen. He notes that her glass was a neat win. She then slams it on the table. Calling Su Chen handsome, she asks if he's single, catching him off guard. Yan leans towards Su Chen, her face extremely red, as she asks if he's willing. Her friends cheer, saying it's the way to go because the scumbag wasn't even worthy of her, so she should be brave and go for it. Meanwhile, Jiang Xiao and Lai Na, who are still following Su Chen, reach there. Jiang Xiao's attention is caught by the cheers of Yunyan's friends, and she is startled when she looks in their direction. Jiang Xiao yells at Su Chen, catching his attention, and asks him what he's doing, while Lai Na questions if he's cheating. Su Chen puts his arms around Yunyan and declares that they should go outside. Yunyan exclaims that he's so manly. Su Chen then grabs Yunyan's hand, and as they move, he proposes that they should go upstairs. Lai Na and Jiang Xiao run behind them, and Jiang Xiao demands Su Chen to stop. Walking through the hallway, Su Chen quickly enters one of the rooms, pulling Yunyan in with him and closing the door behind them. With Yunyan in his arms, he apologizes to her, intending to mention something about Lai Na and Jiang Xiao, but he trails off. Yunyan looks embarrassed as she confesses that it's her first time. Su Chen is taken aback. He asks Yunyan if she's drunk and advises her to wake up while flicking her forehead, which makes Yunyan whine in pain. He suggests that Yunyan shouldn't go out for a few days and should stock up on food at home. Yunyan agrees, but as she's about to articulate something else, she's cut off when Su Chen opens the door and asserts that people in love shouldn't come to places like that. He's about to mention the future, but concludes that Yunyan should just forget it, as there is no future. Su Chen leaves the room, remarking that it's rare to have such an opportunity, so leaving like that is really such a waste. Meanwhile, in the hallway, the bitch kicks a door open and accuses that she knew Su Chen was in there, while Lina is knocking on doors and insisting that he can't treat Jiang Xiao like that. When Su Chen sees them, he laments that with those two around, that night's chance is gone. Su Chen is at a warehouse where huge trucks arrive. One of the drivers asks Su Chen where the 20 large fireplaces should be placed. Another driver mentions that the warehouse doesn't have a refrigerated room and asks if he's not afraid the ice would melt. Su Chen instructs to move the fireplaces and ice makers to the innermost part in order not to block the entrance and to put the ice blocks there. He emphasizes that they should keep moving. Another man arrives and announces that he's there to deliver coal. Meanwhile, Wang Hoyu tells Jiang Xiao that Su Chen rented a large warehouse in the suburbs and bought a lot of large machines that are currently being moved into the warehouse. The bitch inquires about what exactly Su Chen is up to. Wang Hoyu tells Jiang Xiao that she should look at what he is seeing and pointing towards the banquet. He asks her if it's a banquet from the Green City Hotel. He exclaims that the red carpet is even laid out and questions Jiang Xiao if she thinks Su Chen might suddenly propose to her and guests would come from all directions. The gold digger smugly comments that even if Su Chen proposes, she might not accept. She then tells Lina to accompany her there and see Su Chen's sincerity. Su Chen notices Jiang Xiao as she approaches him. She asks him why he's buying so many things and what's going on. Instead of answering her question, he inquires if Jiang Xiao could help him move things, promising that he would tell her after they were done. Jiang Xiao is taken aback when she hears Su Chen's request, exclaiming that he shouldn't joke around because she's going to become a rich lady, so there's no way she could possibly do such rough work. Noticing her reaction, Lina nudges Jiang Xiao and suggests that it must be a test for her to see if she qualifies to become a rich lady. Jiang Xiao awkwardly agrees and declares that she is not that kind of delicate woman. With all of her might, the bitch carries one of the boxes and declares that in order to become a rich lady, one must be well-rounded. So as long as she can withstand the test, Su Chen would definitely marry her that day. Meanwhile, Lina seductively suggests to Su Chen that she would help too. She's thinking that there's no second-generation rich person that isn't lustful, so as long as she shows a little interest, even if she could become a rich lady, she could at least have a sip of soup. Meanwhile, Su Chen smirks and states that he couldn't let the free labor go to waste because with 1,000 tables of food and 2,000 tons of ice, even if the hotel and suppliers sent people, it would still take a long time to move everything. It was already afternoon and someone exclaimed that they had finally finished moving. Meanwhile, the bitch is shaking and dripping in sweat. She declared that Su Chen is really too much because they have been moving things from morning to evening without even a meal. She vows that if she's going to be a rich lady, she would definitely make all this money hers. Lina is as exhausted as Jiang Xiao, and as she calls Su Chen a jerk, she complains that he actually made them move such heavy things, noting that those ice blocks weigh over 100 pounds each. Jiang Xiao remarks that the test is over, and she asks if Su Chen shouldn't announce that she's the bride at the moment. She mentions that the wealthy guests should be appearing. Lina agrees, commenting that the food is getting cold, yet the guests don't seem to mind, remarking that rich people are really strange. On the other hand, Su Chen is thanking the delivery drivers for all their hard work that day. He requests that they accept a small token of appreciation and declares that he would settle the remaining funds within a week according to the contract. The delivery riders are astonished as they exclaim that the thickness of the red envelope was at least 10,000. They enthusiastically thank Su Chen and call him boss. Suddenly, the bitch comes and asks Su Chen if he has something else to tell her. Su Chen remembers to thank her for helping him with work, but Jiang Xiao is horrified when he reveals that there is no pay, so she could leave. The gold digger argues that Su Chen shouldn't joke around because he must have a surprise and guests must be coming, so they should get married and have a good life. When Su Chen hears about living a good life, he confesses that he wishes that, but currently, not only did he sell a house, but he also owes a ton of debt. He asks Jiang Xiao if she would still be willing to be with him. Lina chimes in and insists that it's impossible because there is no way Su Chen could be broke with over 10 million spent on that banquet, tens of thousands in restaurant expenses, and all those things. When Su Chen realizes what they're talking about, he explains that there was a big boss who wanted to do a good deed, so he helped out as they wanted to bring people to the Alish and Poverty Alleviation Project. Jiang Xiao looks grim and grits her teeth when she realizes what Su Chen is explaining. She quickly charges towards Su Chen, calling him a jerk and accusing him of having been lying to her all along. But Su Chen easily dodges Jiang Xiao's attack and inquires what he had lied to her about. Jiang Xiao calls Su Chen a scoundrel and asserts that he's not a second-generation rich person at all, so he can forget about marrying her. Su Chen just glares at Jiang Xiao and questions who cares about a gold digger like her. Jiang Xiao looks terrifyingly enraged when she hears what Su Chen discloses. She walks away, calling Su Chen a bastard and warning him to just wait, as she will make him regret it. Lina declares that he is totally finished. Su Chen calls them idiots and predicts that in the apocalypse, they will be the ones regretting. He closes the doors of the warehouse and announces that finally all the supplies and resources are ready. Currently, they just have to wait for the apocalypse to descend. He uses his skill, Space Unfold. Suddenly, there's a bright light inside the warehouse that can be seen from the windows. Later in the evening, as the crescent moon shines over the Green City Hotel, Jiang Xiao and Jiang Xiaoxian join DEHYDRATED. DEHYDRATED suggests them that in the future, Jiang Xiao should follow Wan Hoyu, promising her a good life because in Shangdu, his words still carry some weight. Wang Hoyu states that Su Chen treated Jiang Xiao like that, so she should have dumped him a long time ago and should have been with him instead. The bitch expresses that she looks forward to Wang Hoyu's performance. Wang Hoyu remarks that Jiang Xiao shouldn't worry and let DEHYDRATED take care of Su Chen later, also getting revenge for her. The gold digger comments that Wang Hoyu is actually not bad, and besides, his brother DEHYDRATED is quite wealthy in Shango, so being with him is better than being with the bootlicker Su Chen. Later, Jiang Xiao is startled when Su Chen, who is eating at one of the tables, mentions that she really isn't picky. Jiang Xiao couldn't help but inquire what he was doing there. Wang Hoyu quickly tells DEHYDRATED that Su Chen was the guy earlier who laid hands on him, while DEHYDRATED calls Su Chen a punk. Su Chen calmly eats his meal as Dahai reveals that he was planning to find Su Chen, and he didn't expect him to dare touch Wang Hoyu, so he has some nerve. When Wang Hoyu hears what Dahai declared, he questions him if he knows Su Chen. Dahai discloses that Su Chen mortgaged his house to him before to borrow 600,000, with tomorrow being the repayment day. When Wang Hoyu hears that, he suggests that it looks like they could settle old and new scores together. Jiang Xiao and Lina look at Su Chen with disgust, and Jiang Xiao notes that Su Chen even dared to borrow money from Dahai, so she's afraid that he won't be able to clear the debt in his lifetime. Luckily, she didn't get involved with him. Lina observes that Su Chen really doesn't know his place for borrowing money like that. Meanwhile, Su Chen sighs and expresses that he can't even enjoy a good meal. Dahai leans towards Su Chen and cautions that he has to repay the money by tomorrow at any cost, and he's there enjoying himself in the hotel. He questions Su Chen if he looks like a joke to him, stating that he shouldn't bother even if he can arrange 600,000 by that night. Wang Haoyu looks enraged as he argues that Su Chen won't be able to get a damn thing, so Dahai shouldn't waste time with him because the useless guy dared to lay hands on him, so they should go finish him. Suddenly, Liu Xinru chimes in and inquires what's going on there, proposing that they should talk it out. When Dahai hears what Liu Xinru voiced, he concurs and directs that she should make Su Chen kneel down and apologize to him and his brother, and they could consider the matter settled. Liu Xinru looks worried and she queries Su Chen what's going on there. Su Chen assures that it's nothing, just a few pests. Wang Haoyu is enraged when he hears what Su Chen articulated, and as he slams his hand on the table, he announces that he has been giving Su Chen face, but that day he is finished because even if the heavens come, they won't be able to help him. Suddenly, a man arrives and inquires of Dahai what they're doing. He looks annoyed as he challenges Dahai, questioning why he allowed someone to cause trouble there. Both Dahai and Su Chen recognize the man as Gao Kang, and while Dahai is alarmed, Su Chen looks intently at Gao Kang. Dahai's attitude quickly changes as he questions Gao Fang about what he's doing there. Gao Fang indicates that he has important matters to attend to that day, so he shouldn't cause trouble there, otherwise he should blame him for not giving face. Dahai looks anxious, knowing that Gao Fang is a well-known entrepreneur in Shangwu on the surface, but he has a wide network in the underworld, and there are many people under his command. Being on his bad side is not a good idea, so he agrees with Gao Fang and asserts that he should go ahead as he would come to toast him later. Meanwhile, Su Chen recognizes Gao Fang as the Skull Crusher, and he recalls that in the previous apocalypse, Gao Fang was a major force in Shangdu, and the Hell's Chef was also under his wing. Su Chen is astonished when he recalls that he heard before that the Green City Hotel was the first place to experience atavistic mutations after the apocalypse, and at the moment, it seems that Gao Fang's ability to become the Skull Crusher was due to the early appearance of atavistic mutations there. So in that case, he feels sorry. Gao Fang turns to look when he notices something. Meanwhile, Su Chen is glaring at Gao Fang as he declares that his opportunity is currently his. Gao Fang notices Su Chen and remarks that he is a kid who has an interesting glare. A lady enters the room and it is Duanya. She is accompanying Gao Fang, who graciously tells Mr. Sun that he has brought her as he requested. Duanya states that she's wondering what Mr. Sun wants to discuss with her. Mr. Sun laughs and expresses that he's heard about Duanya being a great beauty, and that day he finally gets to meet her in person. Mr. Sun looks ominous as he hands a glass of wine to Duanya and proposes that they should have a drink. Duanya is astonished as she can clearly see that there is something dissolving in the drink. On the other hand, someone is swirling a glass of wine in his hand. It's Su Chen. He reveals that in his previous life he hid with Jiang Xiao in the basement and barely survived the extreme heat apocalypse. Su Chen confesses that he never expected that at that time he would ditch her and she would end up following him there. He asserts that it's a good opportunity to settle old scores with Jiang Xiao while enjoying his wine. From a window, Su Chen watches Dahai and Wang Haoyu, and Dahai inquires of Wang Haoyu if he feels like it's hotter at night than during the day. Wang Haoyu concurs and suggests that it's why he suggested going to the pool to cool down, as the girls will come out in swimsuits later. Both of them laugh sleazily, and as Wang Haoyu questions Dahai if thinking about it gets him excited, Dahai commends that it was well done and he was quite clever. A few moments later, Jiang Xiao and Lina arrive in bikinis, and observing the moon, Lina tells Jiang Xiao to look at how bright the moon is, as it's almost like the sun. The bitch agrees and remarks that it's unusually bright. Suddenly, someone grabs Jiang Xiao's hand and proclaims that his love for Jiang Xiao shines as brightly as the moon. It's Wang Haoyu, and he declares that the moon is the witness of their love. But Jiang Xiao ignores what he mentions and complains that it's too hot, so he should hurry and take her to the pool. Meanwhile, Su Chen laughs and jokes that their love is about to explode. He raises his glass and welcomes them back to the apocalypse. Suddenly, the moon turns red, and it begins to rumble. DEHYDRATED and the others are horrified when they feel the ground rumbling. Suddenly, all of them begin running, and while DEHYDRATED, who is left behind, yells to the others to wait for him, Lina wonders why the moonlight suddenly feels so hot. Jiang Xiao cries out in pain, exclaiming that her skin is burning, and Wan Houyu urges that they don't have time to go to the pool, so they should run back to the hotel. Meanwhile, one of the guys inside the hotel ponders why it suddenly became so bright outside. Another guy questions if DEHYDRATED and the others would be okay, and another guy responds, noting that they were just flirting with girls and he didn't understand their boss's happiness. Suddenly, they see Wan Houyu and the others burst through the door, and red steam is coming out of them. While one of the guys is engrossed in his cards, another inquires what Wan Houyu and the others were doing, and another asks why their skin is turning red. Jiang Xiao and Lina are frantically asking for help, and they keep on screaming that it's too hot, while Wan Houyu is frantically looking around, searching for where the water is. Wang Houyu suddenly declares that there's water when he sees a huge fish tank ahead. The three of them quickly run towards the fish tank and dive into it. Wang Houyu looks relieved as he announces that something is coming back to life. Lina instructs that he should move aside, and Jiang Xiao warns that he should get out of the way as the water is hers. One of the guys inquires what they are doing, and the other questions where DEHYDRATED is. Wang Houyu's eyes turn bloodshot when he remembers DEHYDRATED, and he also asks where he is as if right on cue. DEHYDRATED arrives at the door seeking help. He's full of burns and steaming, and while one of the guys asks if he's okay, the other frantically urges that they should get the burn cream. DEHYDRATED asserts that Wan Houyu should go to hell, and Wan Houyu apologizes to DEHYDRATED and promises that he won't leave him again. Meanwhile, Mr. Sun questions Duanya why she isn't drinking. Gao Qiang suddenly interjects and reveals that he has prepared for a banquet, and as he's about to suggest something to Mr. Sun, he's cut off. Mr. Sun interrupts him and proclaims that in Shangdu, nobody dares not drink the wine he pours, so it's none of Gao Qiang's business. Seeing how quickly Gao Qiang backs off, Duanya mutters in her mind, cursing Gao Qiang that as a strategy to climb up to Sun Debio, he even set her up. Duanya looks anxious as she confesses that Sun Debio thinks he's invincible in Shangdu, harming many women, and that day he's targeting her. She looks at her drink and suspects that there must be something wrong with it, so she absolutely can't drink it, but she doesn't know what she should do. Suddenly, the moon shines extremely brightly behind her, which blinds Gao Qiang and Sun Debio, and while Gao Qiang asks what's happening, Sun Debio complains about his eyes. One of the men suggests that they should quickly close the curtains, and as they do so, the other remarks that it's so hot. Duanya observes that something seems a bit off there, and Sun Debio decides that they should go downstairs and see what's going on. Duanya lets out a sigh of relief when she hears that. Meanwhile, Liu Xinru struggles as she pleads with everyone to calm down and states that they have contacted the rescue team, so they should wait there. But one of the guests argues that they have millions at stake every minute, so he can't waste time there, and another guest concurs. Gao Fang arrives downstairs and queries a man he calls Old Mao what's going on, and Old Mao recalls that earlier, the moon suddenly brightened and the temperature rose. It was about 70 degrees Fahrenheit outside at the moment, and the news says nearly 100 people were injured. On the other hand, Mr. Sun calls someone named Minister Zhao and consults him if he could send someone to pick him up at the Green City Hotel. He acknowledges that he understands. Gao Fang probes Sun on how Mr. Zhao is doing, and Sun informs that Mr. Zhao is working to ensure that there wouldn't be any power issues at the moment and nobody is available to come over, so things are a bit tricky. Meanwhile, DEHYDRATED expresses his pain while one of his men applies the cream to him, and as he remarks that the man could be more gentle, the man replies that he needs to go to the hospital. But Wan Houyu inquires how they are going to get to the hospital with it being so hot outside at the moment. DEHYDRATED assures him not to worry as he will have Xiao Dao drive over to pick them up. A few moments later, Xiao Dao, who is in a minivan, is on a phone call with DEHYDRATED and he reports that he is currently in the underground garage. When asked if it's hot, he responds that it does seem a bit. As Xiao Dao exits the underground garage, he advises that they should wait there as he is coming. Suddenly, he notices the light, which makes him ponder why it's daytime, and as he's about to comment on the temperature, he trails off. The tire of the minivan he's driving explodes, and the minivan stops as its tires exploded simultaneously. Xiao Dao comes out to check, and he can't help but question if it's for real that the heat blew out all the tires and what kind of crazy weather it was. He starts running while he's on the phone with DEHYDRATED, and he explains that all 4 tires of the car blew out, so he couldn't get through at the moment and he needed to go back. Xiao Dao suggests that they should figure it out themselves when suddenly the soles of his shoes melt. He trips because his shoes got a bit stuck on the concrete while he's running. Xiao Dao flinches as he falls on the road and comes face to face with a man who was burned to death, lying in the same position as him. Xiao Dao quickly pushes himself up and he exclaims, but as he pulls his head up, he is horrified when he realizes that his face is also melted and is stuck on the concrete. Dahai and the others who are on the other line are all horrified when they hear Xiao Dao's scream, and Dahai is so surprised that he accidentally lets go of his phone. Xiao Dao's scream can still be heard as the phone falls to the floor. On the other hand, Dahai's voice can be detected on the phone as he calls Xiao Dao's name. Meanwhile, in a room set at 25.5 degrees Celsius, it's a really luxurious room with its own pool inside. Someone is peacefully lying on the bed. It's Su Chen, and he's sleeping soundly. It is revealed that due to the sudden release of intense heat from the moon, outdoor temperatures have risen to 75 degrees, with ground temperatures reaching 100 degrees. This event has already caused almost 100 casualties, and it is recommended to please stay indoors and avoid going outside to prevent skin and respiratory burns. Meanwhile, there is a blast at the city power center due to the rising heat, and power goes off. At the Green City Hotel, Dahai realizes that Xiao Dao is no longer reachable as his number goes unanswered. Wang Hoyu informs Dahai that all other rooms are already booked, and this is the last available room, so they have to share. Listening to this, Jiang Xiao protests, asking how she can share a room with all men, and Lionette agrees, saying that she also needs a separate room. The electricity goes off, and it becomes extremely hot to endure. Dahai curses the place. Wang Hoyu removes his vest and tells Dahai that the air conditioning is not working, and the temperature is continuously rising. One of their men says that it is almost 40 degrees indoors, and they will suffocate if they stay here. Dahai tells them that they need to figure something out. The bitch suggests that she remembers Su Chen's presidential suite has a pool in it, and they can go there and claim it. Meanwhile, while taking a bath in his pool, Su Chen recalls that in his last life, the city's electricity had hidden dangers due to improper maintenance, and no matter how much manpower was invested, the city's electricity still exploded, affecting users connected to it. That's why this time he has chosen a room with a pool and has also prepared vertical air conditioners with large backup batteries to ensure room temperature. After adding some ice in the room, Su Chen settles onto the couch with a glass of wine, enjoying the cool ambience he's created. Feeling a pang of hunger, he decides it's time for a simple breakfast on the first day of the apocalypse. He pulls out some dishes from his space, quipping to himself that even during the end of the world, one mustn't compromise on breakfast. As he munches on his breakfast, he can't help but wonder when Kang's opportunity will show up. Suddenly, he hears knocking on the door and a voice urging him to open it. Meanwhile, Dahai, Jiang Xiao, and the crappy thugs are all on his doorstep. Dahai is startled to feel the cool breeze coming from the room. As Su Chen opens the door, they are all amazed by what they see inside. Wang Haoyu exclaims that the room not only has a pool, but also ice, air conditioners, and electricity. Lina shouts at Su Chen that while they all are burning in the heat, he is spending his time in luxury. Jiang Xiao agrees and tells him that he is being selfish. She commands Su Chen to get out of the room right now. Wang Hoyu urges Su Chen to step aside voluntarily, warning against the need for force. Meanwhile, Dahai reminds Su Chen of the money he owes him, pressing him to relinquish the room or face expulsion, considering it as interest if necessary. Su Chen remains composed in the face of their demands. With steely resolve, he draws his gun and fires directly into Dahai's stomach, issuing a chilling ultimatum. One more step forward, and it could be his last. The sudden display of force leaves the others stunned, their shock palpable as they realize Su Chen is armed. Dahai's demeanor shifts, acknowledging Su Chen's toughness, but before he can continue, Su Chen acts decisively once more, firing a shot into his leg. Dahai's cry of pain echoes in the room, serving as a stark reminder of Su Chen's resolve. With a firm tone, Su Chen commands them to leave, warning that lingering will only lead to their demise. He tells them that now he will count to 3, and they had better disappear. Meanwhile, in the hotel lobby, people are arguing with Liu Xinru that how the hotel has no food. Liu Xinru apologizes, mentioning that a few days ago, a person booked 1,000 tables for the banquet, and therefore they had almost run out of ingredients, and the deliveries were all scheduled for today. Listening to this, while pouring a water bottle on himself, Mr. Sun tells the waitress to bring that all food and water to him. People protest, telling him that he was hoarding the water, and now he wants to hoard all the food as well. It is like not giving them a chance to survive. Voices are raised saying that if he has money, that doesn't mean everything should go to him, and the food must be shared to everyone equally. Listening to voices, the muscle head of Mr. Sun comes forward, saying if anyone has a problem with that, it will throw them out. Mr. Sun calls them useless and questions how they dared to challenge him. Just as they were arguing, Dahai and others appear behind them, telling everyone that Su Chen is on a killing spree. Gao Kong notices the gunshots on DeHy's body and assumes that there must be a tough character living upstairs, as there are not many people who can get their hands on a gun. The gold digger tells everyone that Su Chen's room has electricity, air conditioning, and even a swimming pool. People inquire if she is telling the truth. She tells them that she has seen all this with her own eyes, and there were even ice cubes, lots of food, fried chicken, and alcohol, and it looked like heaven. Everyone curses Su Chen, and in a group, they move upstairs to Su Chen's presidential suite to claim everything from him. Gao Chang also tells his thugs to go upstairs and handle everything, and they oblige. As everyone reaches outside Su Chen's room, he inquires if something is wrong. One of the people tells him that they have come to discuss something with him. He adds that it is an emergency, and in this whole hotel, only Su Chen's room has air conditioning, so if he can let them in to cool off a bit. An old man adds that young men should learn to respect their elders and care for the young. Meanwhile, a fat kid tries to sneak in to get the fried chicken, but to everyone's surprise, he receives a kick on his belly and goes flying outside the room. Our Giga Chad boy tells them to control their kids, otherwise he won't mind helping them manage their kids. A lady curses Su Chen that he was just a kid and how could he even think of hitting him. People start shouting murderer, exclaiming that someone like Su Chen doesn't deserve to live in that room. In the heat of the moment, one of them issues the order to charge at Su Chen, believing he's alone and outnumbered. However, our Giga Chad boy remains composed as they rush towards him. With precision, he draws his gun and fires. The bullets slice through the air, finding their mark with deadly accuracy. One man falls, struck squarely in the forehead, as our Giga Chad boy calmly asserts that while he may stand alone, they only have one life to risk. Wan Hoyu is furious over his crappy thug and shouts at them, inquiring why have they left his big brother outside. The muscleheads try to calm him down, mentioning that his brother is already dead, as his wounds were infected and rotting, and with this temperature and no medicines, he could not hold on. Wang Haoyu then screams Su Chen's name, saying that this is all his fault. Meanwhile, Lina and Zhang Xiao are still outside Su Chen's presidential suite. Trying to get his attention, Lina says from outside that she knows he could not bear to shoot them, and he was just scaring Wang DeHy. Zhang Xiao also calls his name and tries to remind him how much she loves him. She requests him to let her in, and in return, she will do anything he wants. Lina joins her proposal, requesting Su Chen to let her in too, and she's willing to accompany him and Zhang Xiao tonight. Su Chen opens the door and tells them that sisterly love sure runs deep. He invites them to come in. As they were about to enter, Wang Hoyu comes running from behind, telling them to get the hell out of the way as he is going to kill Su Chen. Meanwhile, Su Chen raises his bat and says that whoever walks through that door will die, and then hits Wang Hoyu on the face, who was flying coughing blood. Su Chen then asks if anyone else wants to come in. The girls instantly move behind, repeating that they don't want to go in. Su Chen then tells them to get lost, and they hurriedly run away with Wang Hoyu crawling behind them, urging them to wait for him. Outside the Green City Hotel, several armed military vehicles approaching. People get excited to see them as they speculate that they are there to rescue them. The tires of the vehicles were modified to treads, and windows were also insulated, making people sure that these were indeed rescue vehicles. As the vehicles stop, armed soldiers move out from them, telling everyone to step back and make way. One of the soldiers inquires if Academician Liu Zhengo is here. A man comes forward and tells him that he is Liu Zhengo. The soldier tells him that they are the rescue team, and they are here to get him. He instructs him to hurry up and put up the insulated suit and leave with them. People start arguing with the soldiers, asking if they are not here to rescue everyone, protesting that they can't just rescue him alone. One of the soldiers tells them to calm down and says that the authorities have already launched a rescue operation. He instructs them that midnight is the coldest time of the day, and at midnight they can make their way to Silicon Valley Plaza on their own, as it is the nearest rescue point. People cheer up, realizing that there is a rescue operation going on and the authorities have not really abandoned them. Just then, Mr. Sun comes forward and tells the soldiers that he is the Sun Debiel from the Sun Group and offers to give them 1 billion to give him their insulated suits, as he wants to leave now. He then tries to snatch the insulation suit from the soldier. The soldier grabs his arm and replies that Academician Liu Zhengo is their geological expert and has an important role in coping with this disaster, and therefore he should not obstruct their operation. Mr. Sun then curses Gao Krang, calling him useless. He instructs Kang to snatch those insulating suits from the soldiers for him. However, Gao Krang hesitates, witnessing soldiers carrying heavy artillery. The soldier then tells others to retreat as they are ready to go. Suddenly, Zhang Xiao comes forward and informs the soldier that there is a murderer living upstairs. He has a gun and has killed several people. She tells them that this murderer is now after her. Other people also join in and tell the military personnel that they absolutely cannot let the murderer go free, and they must take action against them. Listening to them, one of the soldiers named Xiaofeng says that he will stay behind to solve the matter. Another soldier tells him that this is a special situation and he should not act impulsively. Xiaofeng tells him that he has discretion. He instructs him to take the insulated suit with him first, and he will contact him after dealing with this. Xiaofeng then moves upstairs ready to confront the murderer. Meanwhile, Jiang Xiao contemplates that after Su Chen is dead, she can wait in that room and wait for the rescue. As Xiaofeng reaches outside Su Chen's presidential suite, he is surprised to see a camera planted in the pot. As he ponders the situation, a tear gas can comes rolling in front of him. Tear gas is released, and he starts coughing. Su Chen comes from behind and hits him with his bat, leaving him unconscious. Later, as Xiaofeng regains his consciousness, he feels his eyes stinging. He tries to comprehend his whereabouts and wonders why he feels so cold. Meanwhile, Su Chen is looking at his ID, reading his name and title as Lu Xiaofeng, Deputy Captain of the Special Forces. He tells Xiaofeng that now that he is awake, they should talk business. Xiaofeng mentions air conditioning, ice cubes, and asks Su Chen who exactly he is, and how did he get the gun and the flash grenades. Su Chen replies that he is just a recent graduate and the gun and everything else he picked up during a recent visit to the Middle East. Xiaofeng says if he is kidding, to which Su Chen replies that if he doesn't believe then, there is nothing he can do. Su Chen then questions Xiaofeng if the government has set up rescue points for citizens to go to tomorrow morning. Startled, Xiaofeng asks how he knows about all this. Su Chen continues mentioning that even though the temperature drops significantly in the early morning, staying exposed to the moonlight for more than 10 minutes can still lead to fainting, and many people will die from it on the way to the rescue. Xiaofeng answers that there is no other way, as although they have established safe zones, modifying vehicles is difficult. Many people cannot hold on any longer, therefore they have no choice but to let residents go to the rescue points on their own tomorrow morning. He adds that in fact thick blankets and heavy coats can also help isolate the temperature, and as long as they don't fall down, it should increase the survival rate. Su Chen asks really as he points his gun towards his head, and Xiaofeng confirms. Suddenly, Xiaofeng tells Su Chen to hold on and requests him to allow him to at least tell others about using thick blankets before he kills him. And that concludes our recap for today's thrilling events. Make sure to subscribe for more updates, leave your comments below, and don't forget to hit the like button to show your support. Stay tuned for the next installment. See you later. I hope that you liked today's video, and if you did, hit that like button as today's like goal is 1,500 likes. Comment part 2 down below for the next part. Also, consider subscribing with the notification bell on to get notified as soon as a new video drops onto the channel. You can also join the channel to support me financially and watch videos before public release. I'll meet you in the next video. Until then, thanks for watching.